album on Michael Jackson's MJJ Epic label has been rocking both soul and pop music audiences all over the world. Over 500,000 units sold and an amazing 4 Lady of Soul Award nominees. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Brownstone.
On February 28, 2015, Charmaine Maxie Maxwell, 46 years old, a founding member of the Grammy-nominated R&B group Brownstone, was found bleeding from her neck on her living room floor. The weapon that caused the fatal bleeding was shards of a shattered wine glass. The glass shards had severed her carotid artery in 2 places, and she bled out before help could arrive. Within hours, police closed the case, ruling it a freak accident with no foul play involved. But 10 years later, the questions refused to die, and when you start pulling at the threads of this story, nothing quite adds up the way it should.
I was over Tanisha's. She had YouTube music playing in the background, and Brownstone came on.
Is that what happened?
Want me? Yes, that's what happened. And I don't know how I got to this point, but I said, Black people be dying. And Tanisha said, what are you talking about? And I said, one of the Brownstone members, she died. And Tanisha was like, she did? So then she looked it up. She found out that Charmaine, her name was Charmaine Maxwell, passed away. And the whole thing, after we had started, reading into it, seemed just a little bit off. Seemed a little suspicious to us.
That wine glass might just be the beginning of something much darker, which we will unveil in this video. But before we get there, let me take you back to January 11th, 1969, where this story truly begins. Charmaine Maxina Maxwell was born in Guyana, a small South American country where music runs through the culture like blood through veins. She immigrated to the United States during her formative years around the early 1990s. She'd found her way to Los Angeles, the city where dreams either crystallize or shatter, and for Charmaine, those dreams were about to crystallize in ways she couldn't have imagined. In 1993, she connected with 2 other women, Monica Mimi Doby and Nicole Nikki Gilbert, through the Los Angeles audition circuit. Together, they formed Brownstone, and their chemistry was instant, undeniable, magnetic. These weren't just 3 voices singing together, this was power. Raw, unapologetic, soul-shaking power. When they performed their a cappella audition, they caught the attention of Jerry Greenberg, president of Michael Jackson's MJJ music label under Epic Records. Less than a year after forming, Brownstone released their debut album, From the Bottom Up, in January 1995, and the world took notice. The album went platinum, certified by the RIAA. Their breakout single, If You Love Me, peaked at number 8 on the Billboard Hot 100 and earned them a Grammy nomination for Best R&B Performance by a duo or group with vocals. They won a Billboard Music Award in 1995, solidifying their place in the R&B pantheon alongside powerhouses like SWV and Total.
We've been wanting to do this for so long, and we just didn't want to do it just to say, just to put another record out. We kind of wanted to do this when we were ready. And we wanted to do it the right way, you know what I mean?
But even as success bloomed around them, cracks were forming beneath the surface. Monica Doby departed the group in 1995, initially citing health issues like bronchitis as the reason for her exit. Later radio interviews would hint at something more concerning, interpersonal conflicts that made continuing together impossible. She was replaced by Keena Cosper from Detroit, and the revamped lineup pushed forward with determination. Their second album, Still Climbing, dropped in 1997, featuring singles like 5 Miles to Empty and a cover of the Eagles' I Can't Tell You Why. But lightning doesn't strike twice, and the album underperformed commercially. By 1998, Brownstone had disbanded amid ongoing lineup transitions and industry pressures. For Charmaine, this should have been the beginning of a solo career that rivaled her group's success. She relocated to London and signed with Mercury Records in 2000, full of hope for this new chapter. Her debut single, When I Look Into Your Eyes, featuring a remix by Fred Jerkins III, reached number 55 on the UK singles chart in 2001. But her follow-up, This Is Where I Wanna Be, failed to chart at all, and Mercury Records canceled her planned self-titled album, and just like that, her solo dreams evaporated. By the early 2000s, Charmaine had largely stepped away from the music industry entirely, choosing family over fame. But there was someone who'd been there from the beginning, someone who'd witnessed her rise, her fall, and everything in between. Karsten Soulshock Schock met Charmaine in 1993 while working as a producer for Brownstone, part of the production duo Soulshock and Carlin. He was a Danish record producer with an impressive resume, working on production for acts like Whitney Houston and Usher. His professional collaboration evolved quickly into something more profound, something that would define both their lives for the next 2 decades.
That was it. That we came in and we recorded that in the room where Michael Jackson did Thriller at Westlake Audio Studio.
Okay.
I remember it very well. Yeah, very special room too. And I just remember seeing she walked in, she had these long braids. And I'm like, wow. That's not what I see in Denmark. And I was just, she was so, and she had these beautiful eyes. And I remember I called her next day and Nikki knew already. She could tell. She could tell in that session. She's like, those two?
Wow.
They're so funny. So that's it. From that moment, that was from that moment, I was with Maxi. That was it. We never really left each other in our life.
They married sometime in the 1990s, and around 2004, they welcomed a son, Nikolai Hoyer, who would be 11 years old when tragedy struck. Charmaine had stepped back from the spotlight to focus on being a devoted wife and mother, and they resided in a quiet Los Angeles neighborhood where Schock continued his production work. From the outside looking in, it appeared to be the perfect life after fame, a loving marriage, a beautiful son, and peace after years of industry chaos.
I would say when Maxi was here, it wasn't a big deal because Maxi she was just made to be mom. She was such an incredible mom that I could go to the studio, could do whatever. It was just incredible. And we would be singing and jamming with Nikolai. And I mean, no wonder why he's making music, by the way. And I would have him in the weekends. We would go play football and stuff, and I would be jamming all my new songs. Listen to this new song, Daddy. He's on the back seat in a toddler, yeah, great. He's just had music. And then we'll come home and Maxi's just singing out of her lungs while she's cooking,
But beneath that perfect surface, something was brewing. Because on February 27th or 28th, depending on which source you consult, everything would shatter just like that wine glass. February 28th, 2015 started like any other day. Charmaine attended her 11-year-old son's soccer game in the afternoon, cheering from the sidelines, and according to her family members, she appeared in good spirits, showing nothing unusual. She returned home with Nicolau while her husband was out, and for a while, everything seemed perfectly normal. And then, sometime that evening, she fell. According to police reports and media coverage from the time, Charmaine fell backwards near the doorway connecting her home to the back patio while holding a wine glass. The glass shattered upon impact, sending razor-sharp shards in every direction. 2 of those shards punctured the back of her neck, severing her carotid artery in 2 places, and she bled out before help could arrive. She also sustained a head injury that likely rendered her unconscious, which prevented any attempt to call for help. Her son was reportedly in another room at the time and didn't witness the fall. The family dog was also somewhere in the house and, according to later reports, appeared distressed by the time Schock returned home. Karsten Schock arrived home around 9 p.m. and discovered Charmaine on the floor in a massive pool of blood. He immediately called 911 and paramedics transported her to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center with all possible speed. She was pronounced dead either en route or at arrival, and the massive blood loss from the severed carotid artery made survival impossible. Even with immediate medical intervention, survival from such an injury is extraordinarily rare. The Los Angeles Police Department responded promptly, securing the scene and launching their investigation. Detectives interviewed Schock extensively, questioned other family members, and briefly spoke with their son. They examined all the physical evidence, the broken glass shards scattered across the floor, the blood spatter patterns, the precise layout of the home. They found no signs of a struggle, no forced entry, and no evidence whatsoever of foul play. There was no documented history of domestic violence in the couple's relationship. All accounts pointed to a tragic freak accident. The case was classified as accidental within hours, with remarkable speed that would later become a point of contention. By the following morning, the scene had been released back to the family, the investigation was over, and the case closed. But here's where things start feeling off. The Los Angeles County Coroner's Office conducted an autopsy and toxicology tests to determine if factors like alcohol intoxication contributed to the fall. But here's the problem. Under California law, such reports aren't publicly released unless they're part of criminal investigation. To this day, those toxicology results have never been disclosed. We don't know if she was intoxicated, her blood alcohol content, or anything beyond the official cause of death, accidental lacerations from broken glass resulting in exsanguation. Her brother, Brandon Maxwell, confirmed her passing on social media, expressing raw grief. "RIP to my beautiful sister, Charmaine Maxie Maxwell. I'm so devastated because you deserved to stay on this earth much longer. Bad things happen to the most innocent people. My sister died in the most terrible way, and I'm in so much pain right now." The family released a more formal statement through BET. "Words cannot express how devastated we are at the sudden and tragic loss of our dear Maxie. She was the center of our world as a devoted mother and wife. We miss her so much. We would like to thank everyone who has been there for us and expressed your condolences. They have given us comfort over these incredibly difficult days." They requested privacy during their mourning period. And for nearly a decade, that's where the story rested. But in 2025, the internet wouldn't let it rest. In 2025, Charmaine Maxwell's death resurfaced prominently through true crime YouTube videos, driven by a revival of interest in 1990s R&B music and the growing appetite for true crime content. These videos raised several troubling points. The body position allegedly didn't align with a simple backward fall. Glass shards were supposedly scattered in ways that defied gravity and physics. Evidence suggested prolonged bleeding before discovery, implying a longer timeline than Shock's account. The investigation was criticized as superficial, with the case closed in hours and limited questioning of their son. But the speculation went deeper, touching on more disturbing allegations. These videos drew parallels to Shock's earlier relationship with singer Tracy Spencer, alleging patterns of controlling behavior. They spoke of isolation from support networks, financial manipulation through diverted earnings, and psychological tactics that allegedly stalled Spencer's career. The suggestion was that similar dynamics might have existed with Charmaine, potentially including dependency after Brownstone's dissolution, severed connections with friends and family, and a subordinated artistic voice, though no physical evidence has been cited in reliable sources. Now, here's what we need to be absolutely clear about. These allegations about Shock's past with Tracy Spencer appear largely unsubstantiated because Spencer herself, who rose to fame as a teen with hits like Tender Kisses, worked with Shock as part of Soulshock and Carlin in the 1990s. But in her own interviews, including a 2024 appearance, she discussed her deliberate exit from the industry due to frustrations and lack of fulfillment. She never mentioned Shock specifically, never alleged any abuse or manipulation. Instead, she described pursuing healthcare education and taking 8 years for personal growth.
It's a little heavy for me. It's still a little, it was a very traumatic accident. So, I did the whole posting, and I sometimes just stay a little more quiet these days.
Okay, okay.
And I actually didn't realize we had an interview. When I saw that, I was like, oh, but I have canceled on you before. So I was like, maybe that's also Maya went into the Maxi story because he's so much on mine today.
In February 2024, Shock gave an interview on Halftime Chat where he addressed his marriage and Charmaine's death directly, though not the specific allegations circulating online. Shock described their meeting as love at first sight, leading to years of inseparable partnership despite professional chaos. He portrayed Charmaine as an incredible mother who created a musical, nurturing home. Shock called her death a very traumatic accident and detailed taking a 6 to 7 year hiatus from music to parent their son full-time.
When I lost her, which was a tragic evening, but But then I was alone with Nikolai, and I was also I didn't know how to cook or do much, or
Yeah.
and I also remember going to the studio, and I was doing a hi hat, and I was like, "This is the most. Who cares?
Yeah.
I lost my biggest passion in life. I've lost music. I couldn't believe it, and I took 6, 7 years off. I'm barely just coming back actually. And I just learned how to make lunch packs for school, and I learned how to cook. And the thing was me, but my son, he was home when it happened. There could be
Okay.
some guilt related to that and stuff like that. And when you meet people and they're just kind of like, there's something is messed up about them, and kind of their life is in chaos because they never got over traumatic experience.
Mm.
And I just think to myself, I did not want that at all. I remember I also always asked Maxie if I was in doubt how to be a dad. She goes, very easy. Show him you love him.
Mm.
Then everything's fine. So I stuck by that, and I just wanted him to feel safe. So I drove him to school every day, picked him up his school, made lunch every day, took him to soccer. He was a big soccer player, as we call it over here, for many years. Went on the fields, didn't do anything else, and took care of my son for
Wow.
5, 6 years. Didn't make any music.
Wow. And I'm sure Colin would have understood because he's had his
Oh
breaking
yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, yeah. He's part of the reason why we're slowly coming back, and we're very excited. We have this new artist, Faye. We think is incredible. Fei. I'll send you whatever. We're really excited about. We're developing her right now. We're making music again, but that was a left turn in life that I did not see coming.
Yeah. And then you don't have it's different because most of us would have family around, mum, but grandparents and stuff. You don't, yeah.
It was just me and Nikolai.
Yeah.
You know, we had to move from that house because we couldn't be in that house.
Yeah.
That's and but you know,
Shock moved from their home because they couldn't bear to stay there after what happened. He emphasized his son's role in their mutual healing, how they saved each other during those dark years. He avoided engaging with speculation, canceling interviews around sensitive dates, focusing instead on positive memories.
and I remember he came to me when he was, I think he turned 18. He kind of took his hands on my shoulders and said, "I know what you've done. You know, I know what you shielded me from," he even said.
Wow.
And I just wanted to know I'm okay. And that's pretty big for an 18-year-old to say that.
So where does that leave us? The official account from 2015 remains unchanged. The LAPD's confirmation of no crime, medical explanations for the injury's lethality, and the family's grief statements. No new investigations have been opened, nor has new evidence surfaced. But sometimes cases that initially appear to be accidents are later proven to be something else. Take the case of Suzanne Sills, found at the bottom of her staircase in November 2016, and her husband, Dr. Eric Scott Sills, claimed she'd fallen accidentally. But an autopsy revealed a ligature mark on her neck, hemorrhaging in her eyes, and a fractured vertebrae. And by November 2017, the coroner ruled it a homicide. Eric was arrested in April 2019 and convicted of second-degree murder in December 2023, receiving 15 years to life. That case demonstrates how forensic scrutiny can reveal homicide in seemingly accidental falls, but it required clear evidence, strangulation marks, suspicious injuries, DNA evidence, and motive. None of those elements has been publicly established in Charmaine's case. Charmaine Maxwell's legacy endures through Brownstone's empowering R&B hits, with tributes celebrating her voice and devotion to family. But her death has become its own tragic footnote, a reminder of how quickly life can end and how much we may never know about someone's final moments. Did you also notice any foul play in Charmaine's death? Let me know what you think in the comments section. Also, click on one of the cards on your screen to see more videos like this.